I would call this MPC meeting to order. Can I get I'm going to go with the roll call to see who's online and who's on person or in person here. Member Eichert's here, I think. 25. Member Link.
I'm here. Good morning.
Yeah, okay. Member Armstrong. Here. Member Wilson. Here. Member Kester. Here. Member Clausen.
I'm on the line here.
Member Bigger.
I'm here.
Perfect, thank you. Before we start this thing, I will read we're conducting this meeting via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Please note that this call is being transcribed and will be uploaded to our website and our social media. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone when you are not talking. If you've submitted a comment request, the chair will call on you at the appropriate time. The chair may also openly ask for comments and concerns from the public relating to a particular topic. At this time, phone lines will be unmuted. If you'd like to speak, please state your name. We ask that only one member of the public speak at a time. Everyone has the right to be present at this meeting. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair as per MGA Section 198. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding. We will also be voting using a negative vote procedure. I'll ask if anybody's against it, if there's any opposition. Thank you very much, Member Wilson. I will then call for a roll call vote. I got you back. Okay, so we have a copy of the agenda in front of us. Would somebody care to, is there any additions or deletions?
None from administration.
Hearing none, can I get somebody to
Also move the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Oh, Member Armstrong, sorry. MPC's wishes, anybody opposed? Hearing no opposition. We have a copy of the unapproved minutes from the January 19th, 2021.
I'll move to approve the minutes of January 19th.
Thank you, Member Wilson. Any negative vote? Hearing none, that is passed. We are on the road. We will now do development permit applications 2.21, DP 2020-136.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County, and the application is DP 2020-136. It is for an amendment to the original campground permit in order to add temporary RV storage, a private sports field, an off-leash dog park, a community garden, and day use overflow parking. So if you would like to go to the location plan on page 15, Appendix A, we can see that this is the Oasis Grove Campground. It's 1 mile north of Highway 901, 1 mile west of 817 on Range Road 254. And the circulation map is Appendix B there. It was circulated to landowners within 1 mile. We didn't receive any responses. We did have some comments from internal staff, from the peace officers. They said that they pointed out that because the campground consists of leaseholders in a private gated community, any dog complaints related to barking dogs or dogs at large would be handled privately by the park as they would in a Bearland condo. And the GM of transportation said he had no concerns as he did not foresee any significant traffic increases with this change of use. It was not circulated to agencies. So if we go to Appendix C on page 16, we will see a couple of aerial photos there, one that's more zoomed out and one that's closer in. And this property is zoned Parks and Rec. And Appendix D has their site plan on page 17. So here, we will just point out that the applicants are currently approved for a 320 site campground with an expansion in process to the area known as the Greens. This area was slated to be a dog park, this area of this application, for the Greens application, but the campground has decided they will keep a portion of it for the dog park, with the remainder to be used as a temporary space for RVs, a private sports field, a day use area, and overflow parking for patrons. Policy evaluation. It does meet the criteria of the MDP 3.10.1 for Parks and Recreation, as it allows for the enhancement of recreational activities within the county. And it meets the requirements of the land use bylaw for a campground major, which is a discretionary use, and it allows for a variety of associated uses, which this would fall under. Some considerations: the proposed additional uses are for campground leaseholders, so will not produce additional traffic. Year-round storage of RVs is allowed in a campground major. There have been no responses from surrounding landowners, and a condition has been placed requiring the campground to establish a complaint process for how they will handle complaints related to barking or animals at large. So in conclusion, on agenda page 11, you will see our recommendation for approval of the amendment to the campground subject to conditions. And on page 13, we have the standard 3 options for MPC to consider. And that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. MPC's wishes?
I'll move that MPC approve DP 2020-136 for campground, a major amendment subject to the following conditions.
Thank you very much. Any opposition?
Should ask any questions.
Oh, sorry, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, is there anybody on the council, on the commission opposed? Hearing no opposition? It is passed. We'll now move on to DP 2021-002.
This application is for home-based business type 3 for trailer sales. If we go to the location plan, it's Appendix A on page 27 of the application, of the agenda package. So we did circulate with 2 landowners within 1 mile, both on the north and south side of the highway. We received 1 response with concerns from someone on the north side of the highway. The full letter is in Appendix F on page 31, but I will just summarize it for you. There was concerns regarding the intersection of Range Road 250 and Highway 1. 2 existing businesses have already been approved and no intersection upgrades. So 1, the go-kart facility is in the town of Strathmore limits, and there is an RV storage site on the north side of the highway. They're asking that we consider the following. There are no merged lanes. The speed limit is 110, and the meridian between the west and eastbound lanes cannot accommodate a trailer. Sight lines east and west is impeded by the slope of the land. Local traffic will be expected to navigate this intersection daily, and he provided an example of a potential scenario that could occur. Internal staff, planning and development staff, we're wondering if a condition can be added to ensure they do not go above 10 trailers, outdoor storage. And the follow-up is that the letter of intent only stipulates 5 to 10, so they have to abide by that. And Alberta Transportation only allowed 5 to 10. The GM of Transportation said that Range Road 250 is adequate for a development of this intensity, and the applicant should obtain a permit from Alberta Transportation for the business as well as the sign. Agencies, the WID, had no concerns, but if a structure is constructed, they'll need to meet a 30-meter setback. Alberta Transportation did grant a permit for the 5 to 10 trailers and 1 on-premise sign. The town of Strathmore did not respond. So the site description on Appendix C, page 28, is the aerial photos. So the property is zoned Ag General, On the eastern border of the town of Strathmore, directly adjacent to Highway 1. The proposal is to become a sub-dealer for FOT trailer sales. They propose to sell 5 to 10 trailers of different styles, 10 feet to 40 feet in length. The owners reside on the property, and as trailers are sold, they'll be replaced. No buildings will be required. Inventory will be displayed in an area adjacent to Highway 1, along with one sign. And Appendix D on page 29, that is their site plan. And Appendix E is just some examples of some of the trailers that they hope to be selling. Some considerations: the HBB, home-based business, does meet the criteria of the MDP and the LUB. A home-based business typically requires screening of outdoor storage, as it is usually for material parts or supplies. However, these trailers are new and expected to be kept tidy, as they are the advertised product. It is directly north of the site across the highway is an existing RV storage lot. The applicant has limited the number of trailers to a maximum of 10. Alberta Transportation has also limited to the number of 10. And the report indicates no responses from landowners because it came just as we were about to load it to the website, and we were able to add the letter, but we hadn't had time to update the report. Our transportation department feels Range Road 250 is adequate for the intensity, and Alberta Transportation has granted a permit. There is a condition added that an increase in intensity may require rezoning or relocation. So we feel confident in what we have proposed. So in conclusion, on agenda package, page 21 and 22, we are recommending approval of the home-based business for a 2-year term. And the response options for MPC are on page 24 and 25. There's the 3 standard options. And that concludes my presentation. Let me know if there's any questions.
Thank you. Discussion?
Need a motion on the floor before discussion.
Do we have to do that? Okay, so MPC's wishes. Any discussion? We still need that, okay.
I will move approval with the conditions that were noted, but I do have a question as well that could potentially result in an amendment, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
So I'll put the motion on the floor.
thank you, Commissioner Link. And we will listen to your discussion.
So I also have the same concerns that the ratepayer that wrote the letter did around traffic, and I'm just wondering if administration has any ideas on how we could mitigate that. I recognize it's a federal highway, so outside of our jurisdiction, and that approval was granted, I think, by AT, right? Let me double check. I know I read that. Yeah, permit was granted. I just don't know if there's any mitigation strategies, given that it's not our, like, I recognize the access road is ours, but where the concern is on the highway.
Yes, and I would think that would be Alberta Transportation's jurisdiction to determine if they think any intersection upgrades or merge lanes need to be added. That would be their call.
So when these, excuse me, through the chair, when these developments come in that are temporary for 2 years, does transportation get circulated on it, and or do they?
You mean when it comes up for renewal?
Like when we're dealing with, has transportation been circulated on the development,
Yes, they have.
and they have no concerns?
No, they granted a permit.
If there was anything to be done to the road, that would fall on transportation or the owner?
If it was to be done to the number 1 highway intersections, I would think transportation would be the lead on that in determining what would need to be done.
Administration, you have some comment?
Just following up on your inquiry, Member Link, I think that what we can do, just because there's different jurisdictions here, but what we can do as a county is certainly if there are concerns, ratepayers should know that they could definitely submit concerns to the county, and we can definitely tabulate those. And upon, if there's any serious safety concerns, we can always coordinate with or or send those off to the province for anything that, might jeopardize the safety or something like that from a transportation perspective, but, the jurisdictional authorities there. But I think that's what we can do as administration and as a county.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just to confirm, AT, when looking at an application such as this, do they consider cumulative effects, like in the area? Like they would, obviously, I know they look at traffic counts and things like that, but they would be aware of the development on the other side of the highway. It's really that cumulative impact here that my concern is, and I know that the ratepayer is concerned about. If you just had just the one development on one side, it's a different situation, but because you're looking at like extended length vehicles on both sides and the speed and like, it's just the combination of factors that is concerning.
I cannot speak for what they did review when they did this, but I know that they did review the development on the north side of the highway and grant their approval there, and they did permit this one. Whether or not they combine the two to see what the cumulative, or even the go-kart one that's in town limits, I can't say.
Okay. But that would be their jurisdiction, and concerns regarding that can come to us, and then we can amplify that to, okay. Yeah, I'm obviously pro-development. I love like the business concept and I want to support that. I'm just trying to balance the safety risks, obviously, so. Okay.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying in the fact that, but this is like, our hands are sort of tied at this, right? Because it's probably nothing will ever happen, but, we have to be aware of the fact that, yeah, if you have two trailers pulling out at the same time from basically the same area, and somebody coming down the middle at 140 kilometers an hour, that's probably a recipe for disaster. But I believe that once AT has spoken, that the best we can do is share our concerns about it, and maybe we should keep an eye on, if there's accidents at that, an increase in accidents and all that kind of stuff, then we can pass that information on to AT and say, what can we do about this? But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And perhaps if administration too can just make sure, being the councillor of the area, if council, well, all of council actually could be made aware of complaints or concerns that are brought to administration, and certainly if they come to council, we'll bring them to administration. It just may be an advocacy area when we're meeting with transportation, just to stay on top of, because.
I'll make a note in the file, so when it comes up for the 2-year renewal, we can I'll kind of put the word out and see if anybody's heard anything or.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
So we have a motion on the floor. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, it is passed. We will move on to DP 2021-004. 40, sorry, I apologize.
Yes, so this application is, if we go to the location plan in Appendix A on page 38, it is for a variance to an undeveloped road allowance for a new dwelling. Excuse me. And so, as you can see, it is within the small little community of Crowfoot, named community. We circulated to adjacent +1. We didn't receive any responses. If you look on Appendix B, you'll see our circulation area. Internal staff had some comments. So the GM of Transportation said that the development is not accessed by a developed road allowance. However, access can be achieved by traveling through the adjacent private lands, also currently being purchased by the applicant, which actually that is finished. So he does own all the many of the adjacent lands there. The transportation advises that an access agreement should be signed and that Wheatland County does not maintain any of the roads within the hamlet of Crowfoot and will not maintain the private access road to this development. We also circulated to CP Rail, County of Newell, and Siksika Nation. We didn't receive any responses from those agencies. The site plan is Appendix C on page 39. And we can see where the dwelling is proposed to go. All the properties within Crowfoot are zoned ag general, so there's a 75-foot setback from a road allowance. Although the lots are situated in an urban configuration due to the original subdivision plan of the community. So the proposal meets all the other setbacks for the ag zone. And on Appendix D on page 40, we can see the entire community there. And the existing mobile that is on site will be removed once construction is complete. The applicant has purchased several of the Crowfoot lots, including the one which will provide access to the site. So you can see that one on the aerial photo there on page 40, and that's where the access road is going to be to the development. Some considerations: the proposal meets the criteria listed in the land use bylaw regarding variances, as it should not have a negative impact on surrounding landowners. The property directly south of the undeveloped road allowance is owned by CP Rail. There were no concerns raised from surrounding landowners. A condition has been placed for removal of the existing mobile, and a condition has been placed for an access easement to be registered on the title for provision of physical private access. A note has been added also to ensure the applicant is aware that Wheatland County will not maintain the roads to the development. So in conclusion, on page 34, staff are recommending approval of the dwelling single detached with the requested variance. And on page 36, we provide the standard 3 options for MPC to consider. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. MPC's wishes.
I'll move that MPC approve DP 2021-004 for a dwelling with variance to the setback to the right-of-way of a public road, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you. Discussions. We'll call the vote. Anybody opposed? Hearing no opposition, we deem it passed. We will move on to 2.4 DP 2021-007.
And this one is for home-based business type 3 for custom meat curing and smoking. So on page 48, Appendix A, we will see the location plan. It's located a half a mile south of Highway 1 and 1 mile west of 817 on Range Road 253. It was circulated to surrounding landowners within 1 mile, as you can see on Appendix B, and there were no responses. Internal staff had, in summary, the Deputy Regional Fire Chief said a couple of things to note. The smoker should be installed to manufacturer instructions and to check with the insurance company, also that it may require Alberta Health Services inspection. It was circulated to agencies. Alberta Health Services had no response. The town of Strathmore responded with a bit of discussion about potential odor, but no real concerns due to the small scale of the business and the distance from other residences. So on Appendix C on page 49, we'll see an aerial photo there. They are offering custom meat smoking, curing, and smoking, and the prep area is going to be within a room in the existing shop with the smoker in a separate outbuilding. If you go to page 50, Appendix D, you can see their site plan there. And you can see the smoker building is about 15 feet from the main shop. And Appendix E, we just have a photo of the proposed smoker. And on page 51, there is the 2 buildings with the famous deer in the forefront of the picture. Some considerations: the HBB meets the criteria of the MDP and LUB for home-based business type 3. No outdoor storage is required, and it will require minimal additional traffic. There were no circulation responses from adjacent landowners, and a condition has been added for a safety code inspection. Notes have also been added regarding the manufacturer's instructions and potential insurance requirements to ensure the applicant is aware of these precautions. In conclusion, on page 42 and page 43 is our recommendation for approval of the home-based business for a 2-year term with conditions. And on page 46 is our standard 3 options for Municipal Planning Commission to consider. And that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have questions.
Thank you. Thank you. MPC's wishes? I will, because it is smoking bacon. Wow, I love that. I'll move that we approve DP 2021-007 for a home-based business type 3, subject to the conditions. Discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none?
I'm a vegan.
Oh, that's your problem. Hearing none, deem it passed. We will now move on to. We will do DP 2021-009.
All right, so this application is for a medium industrial business for industrial abrasive blasting and painting and coating facility. So the location plan is on page 58 in Appendix A. And this is located half a mile south of Highway 564, just east of the hamlet of Ardenode. And this application was circulated to surrounding landowners within 1 mile, as you can see on Appendix B. We didn't receive any responses. Internal staff had some comments. The environmental coordinator said she had no concerns, that the environmental management plan looks great. No comments if they are implementing the suggested measures, and it's fairly low impact according to the environmental study that they have done. The Deputy Regional Fire Chief recommended that due to the nature of the operations, a fire inspection should be done. And the peace officers just made mention that they cannot regulate or enforce speed limits on private roads. It was not circulated to agencies. So in Appendix C on page 59 and 60, we just have some aerial photos. Originally, this was a home-based business, beginning approvals in 2001. It outgrew the home-based business criteria, so it was rezoned in 2017, spot zoned. And in addition, they had to do a stormwater management plan, a phase 1 environmental site assessment, an easement with the adjacent landowner for access, and an environmental management plan. So we hadn't received any complaints until recently. There was concerns with speeding on the private access road. So a speed limit sign is posted, and a complaint hotline has been added to the website. So I had advised them that was going to be a condition, so they've already completed that. Appendix D, page 61, is their site plan. And they had identified all the buildings. You can see their stormwater management plan on there, their pond. And Appendix E is just some site photos. So if we go down to page 64 on the site photos, you can see their speed limit sign that they have posted, and the business location from Range Road 253, you can barely see it. So that's just identifying that. Some considerations: the proposed business aligns with the MDP. The business has been operating since 2001, with the only complaint being the recent ones related to speeding of trucks on the private roadway. The approved redesignation of the property indicates support in principle for the lands to be used for an industrial purpose. The application aligns with the prescribed uses of the industrial general district, and the applicants have completed the items required to be addressed from the previous permit and rezoning. Issuance of the permit ensures that the environmental management plan must be consistently followed, or it would be a contravention of the development permit conditions. And the applicant has already added a section for concerns or complaints to their website and have advised that a fire inspection will be completed in the coming weeks. So in conclusion, on page 53 of the agenda package is the approval of the industrial medium business with conditions, and MPC has the standard 3 options found on page 56. Thank you.
Thank you. MPC's wishes.
Hello,
Chair.
Member Clausen here. I'll make a motion to approve the permit. Can you hear me?
Speak up, Scott, but you gotta take a minute, 'cause Ben had a question.
So
Yeah, Ben's got a
you can-
question
you
here,
can put it
Scott.
on
Oh,
the floor,
sorry.
then I can ask the question. No,
Oh, you know, you can put your motion on the floor, Scott.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve, with the conditions presented.
Okay, thank you.
my
Discussion.
question is to number 7, if our officers have no control, why do we have a condition that they provide pictures of a speed limit sign if we have no control over it?
It was placed there as a condition so that we could at least, have them do what we do have control over. We can advise them to put up signage, and so we have put up signage, and they've provided documented, proof that they have the sign there, so they've met the condition.
If we can't control it, why would we want it there? Why would we want the assumption that we can control it? I guess that's my question. If we force them to put the sign up to get their permit, then we're saying that we control the speed on that road, don't we?
Administration, I understand sort of where Ben's coming from, but is this not more of a deal that we have asked, we have made aware that there is a speed limits?
It's just, I
Yeah.
could see it being a suggestion, but not a condition. A suggestion to the applicant, but I can't see it being, because if he doesn't put them up, we can stop the application and we don't have any authority over it. But if he doesn't do it, or if it falls down, we can shut down his application. It doesn't make sense to me.
Would it be your preference if I put it as a note?
Yeah, just
Rather
to
than a
note to the
condition?
Yeah, just so that we've noted it, but it's not a condition that he has to do that and maintain that and all that goes with it.
Okay,
Because if someone gets hurt on there and it goes into the courts, it's gonna come back here because then we say, well, we don't have any jurisdiction and the courts will be mad at us.
okay, I can move it to a note if that's MPC's wishes.
Scott, will you accept a friendly amendment from Ben?
Yes, great discussion, and I would accept that amendment.
Just a question about the signage. Their signage would probably be different than signage we would put up. So then that could, delineate that for people so they would know it wasn't necessarily a county speed limit, but it was like a local request from, is that accurate? I'm just thinking expectation management, to your point around enforcement.
Yeah, they can go to the store, to a hardware store and get a sign with a speed limit on it, which is different than what our sign
Okay,
says.
that's fair.
So we have a motion on the floor where we'll, with the amended, that number 7 will be deleted and it'll be made as a note in the file. That's is anybody opposed to that? Hearing no opposition, that is passed. I don't see anything else on the agenda. I guess we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Stay safe.